Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Happy New Year from the NFL podcast. The Laces Out crew wish you all a Happy New Year. And here's the first Laces Out of the new year. We've got a special guest in the form of Matthew Moore and very special guest predictions. Check it out to see what's going on there and see if you can get in on the guest predicting. Wherever you're getting your podcasts, please do consider subscribing. Like, share, comment. All of it's great. All of it's wonderful. We appreciate everything that you do. So here we go. This is CookieCast. Laces Out.
Recording in progress.
Indeedy doody. So here we are. First NFL podcast of 2022. Ooh, lovely stuff. I am here with the glamorous co-host who has absolutely the co-most. Paul Williams.
Good evening, all.
And our guest for this week, he's no stranger to podcasts, NFL football, or any type of football. It is, in fact, the host of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast, Mr. Matthew Moore. Hello to you, sir.
Hello.
So there we go. That's that. We're done. We're here. I mean, we could get the podcast bingo out of the way, straight off the bat if you like. Season's almost over, boys. Practically the Super Bowl.
Yes, but this time when you say Andrew, it's literally true.
Yes, it is literally true.
So not like when you say it after the first week of the pre-season or something like that.
I mean, it feels that way to me. It feels once that first snap's gone, it's like, oh, we're out of the Super Bowl. Come on.
Part of me would be tempted to hazard a guess that you might even say it when the last draft pick comes in. Mr. Irrelevant is named, and it's like, right, well, season's pretty much over.
Season's basically over at this point, isn't it? What can I say? It's a short season for one of the biggest sports in the world. But hey, I digress. So let's get into it. We've got week 17 to review, week 18 to preview, and correct me if I'm wrong, which I often am, but the last week of regular season, heading off to playoff land, where wins become losses. Wait, no, that's something else. That's the witching hour. Something's gone wrong. So, where do you want to start?
Well, it's nice to put a nice bow on the previous week's happenings, isn't it? So should we go through week 17's picks and therefore results?
Do it.
Obviously, week 17, so there was a lot of stuff that was tied up from a playoff perspective, but we'll come to that in due course. As always, 16 games to pick from. We had predictions from both myself and Andy. The guest predictions were picked up by podcast favourite Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. And as we discussed from week 16, off air, we'd received some predictions from a podcast listener, and that particular podcast listener was Mr. Mark Wilkin, who did very well with it and got 10 out of 16 for week 16's picks. And then he actually submitted some picks in time for us to broadcast on the air for week 17. So, 4 people picking. out of the 16 games in 4th place with a very respectable 11 out of 16 picks correct. He's pointing at himself, and it is indeed Mr. Andrew Cook.
I have had an absolute blinder this season, I tell you. I have shit out week in, week out.
I tell you something. I'd love to feel that missing out on only five incorrect picks is me shitting out.
It's not enough for a point.
Sadly, Andrew, we did discuss this last week. You put some sort of blind faith in the Washington football team, which was ill-founded, as it turns out.
Yeah.
You were also let down by the Indianapolis Colts, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
Sadly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately for Mr. Cook, he was only able to slot himself into 4th place. In 3rd place, and 2nd place, and indeed 1st place,
joint finishers.
We have a 3-way tie for 1st position.
Amazing.
With 12 out of 16 picks, it is both myself, not both, it is myself, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey, and guest predictor, Mr. Mark Wilkin.
Beautiful.
So, successful pats on the back and congratulations to everyone involved, apart from Andy, with their successful pick of 12 of the 16 games correct. I personally was let down by the Colts, the Chargers, the Cowboys, and the Browns, whereas the Stuart and Mark both made the same predictions. I went down by the Colts, the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Cowboys.
Did you say, did they predict the Chargers would win?
They predicted that the Chargers... Oh, yeah. For some reason, I've put the Chargers down as a loss. I don't know why I've done that.
Giving people out of points here.
I am. Scratch that then. So we've got 13 out of 16 and 12 out of 16, respectively. So you did even better, Andy. You only got 4 wrong, whereas we only got 3 wrong. So I do apologise. I've done people out of points there. But yes, it was a 3-way tie for 1st position, which for the overall season scores makes it something like this. Mr. Andrew Cook, 2 points for the season. Still a point to play for, so it could be more. The guest, 6.5 points for the season. And now, with an unassailable 2-point advantage, is Mr. Paul Williams with 8.5 points. Obviously, we'll work out some sort of week that the week 18 picks are worth double points or something like that. So there is still a chance that I could lose. But we'll see when it comes to it, and we'll work it out from there. But yes, very well done to both Stu and Mark for getting only 3 wrong on the week 17 picks.
Very well done. There we go. Week 17 picks done and dusted. So, we should probably talk week 17 stats. Now, unfortunately, this is the point in time where I need to brace people. I have looked ahead at the stats. The first stat is a whopper. And unfortunately, it's a sad one. So you might want to brace yourself for that. It's going to be the Antonio Brown conversation, isn't it? It's not. We have got week 17 stats brought to us by the Stats Mistress, brought to her by Nate Davis of USA Today. Davies, one of them. And I have shared amongst my brethren the stats, so you don't have to listen to me talk too much. Unfortunately, like I said, The first one is a whopper. Here we go. John Madden has been almost universally beloved for decades, but the outpouring following his December 28th death has underscored how much he will be missed, despite the fact he'd largely retreated from public view since retiring from broadcasting a dozen years. And though Madden's eminence as a broadcaster and video game maven have defined him for recent generations, let's take a moment to remember just what a great coach he was. His .759 regular season winning percentage is the best ever among those who coached at least 100 NFL games. In 10 seasons, his Oakland Raiders never finished below .500, qualifying for postseason 8 times and won Super Bowl 11. The 1976 team, one of the greatest ever, going 16-1 overall. Respect to John Madden. Obviously, I think every team did something sort of out of respect at the start of every game. I know there was going to be a moment's silence across the NFL at the start. That was widely advertised. Obviously, I am very much in the camp of I was aware of John Madden's achievements, but I'm also, well into the football game, John Madden's football, and into the later, just Madden. Absolute legend. Will be widely remembered for years, I would imagine. Number 2, eventful Sunday afternoon in the AFC. The Tennessee Titans and Cincinnati Bengals winning division championships, while the Patriots and Buffalo Bills assured themselves post-season spots. Number 3, shout out to the Titans, who maybe weren't exactly written off following running back Derrick Henry's mid-season foot surgery, but certainly haven't been a front-burner topic ever since. Now the AFC South champs 2 years running, the Titans have also resurfaced as the conference's projected top seed and are expected to have their backfield king back for the playoffs. Count them out at your peril. 4. Sunday evening also brought the Green Bay Packers' coronation as the NFC's number 1 seed for the second straight year, their exile of the Vikings officially ushering the Philadelphia Eagles into the playoff field. There's that. Paul, I believe you are going to pick up some stats for us.
Certainly can, Mr. Cook. Heading into Week 18, however, the AFC's number 1 seed hangs in the balance, as do the AFC East and NFC West crowns and 3 additional wildcard berths. The action kicks off with a Saturday doubleheader as the Chiefs visit the Broncos, whilst the Eagles host the Cowboys. Thanks for coming. Teams eliminated from playoff contention on Sunday included the Atlanta Falcons, the Cleveland Browns, the Denver Broncos, the Miami Dolphins. It doesn't say this on the start, but I'm just going to go with Kirk Cousins' Minnesota Vikings, and everyone's favourite, the Washington Football Team. The trio of AFC teams were all bounced, courtesy of the Los Angeles Chargers' win against the Broncos. Shout out to the Las Vegas Raiders, who have just about overcome a decade's worth of adversity this season. And following Sunday's defeat of the Colts in Indianapolis, the Silver and Black will host what's likely a de facto playoff game in Week 18 against the arch-rival Chargers. Congratulations to AFC North champions, the Cincinnati Bengals, and Joe Burrow. Credit also to rookie wide receiver Jamar Chase for his epic journey from LSU star to 2020 opt-out to 2021 first-round draft pick, the 2021 preseason bust, to possible 2021 Offensive Rookie of the Year. Chase made quite a closing argument on Sunday, piling up 266 yards, a rookie record, and 3 touchdowns receiving. His 1,429 receiving yards trumped the rookie record, 1,400 yards for the Super Bowl era, set just last year by former LSU teammate Justin Jefferson. And finally for me, was there ever a doubt Tom Brady would vanquish the New York Jets?
I
Again.
kind of gave you this one on purpose because I can't imagine you would have anything to say about this one.
The New York Jets put on a show for much of Sunday's matchup, but TB12's 33-yard touchdown pass to Cyril Grayson with 15 seconds remaining allowed the NFC South champs to improve to 12-4. Brady is now 31-7 all-time against the Jets, and his 9,059 passing yards against them in the regular season are the most for any quarterback against a single opponent in league history. I'll pass over to you, Mr. Moore.
Speaking of the GOAT and his opponent at the quarterback, Brady and Jets rookie Zach Wilson were both born on the 3rd of August, but 22 years apart. Brady, 44, and Wilson, 22, provided the largest age difference between starting quarterbacks in NFL history. And didn't they share that a lot on Sunday?
I never mentioned it. What are you on about?
If Sunday was quarterback Russell Wilson's final game in Seattle, he gave the Seahawks one final fun memory. He threw at least 4 touchdown passes for the 17th time in his illustrious career as the Hawks gifted their 12s with a 51-29 blowout of the Detroit Lions in their last home game of the season. Congratulations to San Francisco 49ers rookie Trey Lance, the final first-round quarterback of the 2021 draft, to earn a win this season. Of course, Lance was making only his second start, while all of his peers have at least 10. In a stat that will pretty well sums up their season, the New York Giants finished with minus 10 passing yards on Sunday. Quarterback Mike Glennon throwing for 24, but losing 34 on 4 Chicago sacks. I've got the dubious one here. If you thought wide receiver Antonio Brown put an exclamation point on his career after last season when he earned his first Super Bowl ring, he almost certainly put a different kind of punctuation on his wild 12-year NFL ride now. Bucs coach Bruce Arians said that AB is no longer a Buc, following Sunday's bizarre antics, including a veritable striptease as Brown left the field in the middle of the game. It would be shocking if this wasn't Brown's final meltdown as a member of the league.
So, do we spend the next 45 minutes talking about this, or what? Because I really want to try and get through this without mentioning the O.J. Simpson, the tweet and the ensuing comment section. We might have to gloss over that though, even though I really want to get into it because I'm still. All I have to do is think about it, and I start crying, laughing. So. The story goes like this. Antonio Brown was allegedly benched. Took offence, let's say, to being benched. Mike Evans had apparently seen this and tried to calm the situation. And Antonio Brown, in what can only be described as true Antonio Brown style and fashion, went, "Fuck this shit. I'm out of here." Removed all clothing from the top half of his body, did some star jumps in the end zone, and left the game in the third quarter. It was pointed out that the stadium security thought he was a partial streaker and were prepared to tackle him to the ground before realising, no, it's just a crazy person. On a serious note, obviously there's been a lot come out off the back of this about Antonio Brown's mental health, CTE, and everything in between. I saw 2 post-match interviews. The Bruce Arians one was literally just, he is no longer a book, let's move on and talk about the players who actually won the game for us. Tom Brady's was a little bit more in the, we love him, we care for him, but he needs to get help, and he won't do that as a member of the Buccaneers. At the end of the day, anybody that's suffering with mental health issues needs to get some sort of help, no matter what that is, and it's often mental health help that works for that person. Obviously, you have to take into account the added CTE and everything that goes with that, but I think, as it's said there and everything that's come out from the weekend, he probably won't be seen in the NFL again. There was talk about who's desperate enough to pick him up for a 6-month contract or something, but I think he's probably burnt every possible bridge. And at this point in time, he just needs to get some help.
I think it's a difficult one because the Bucks haven't waived him today, and so kind of obviously that maybe cool heads have kind of prevailed, and they've kind of gone, I can't see him playing for them again, but hopefully they'll help him. But obviously there's like conflicting kind of things, because apparently he had, what was it? I can't think what it was. He needed another. Was it another touchdown to get?
It was crazy. He's missed out on $1 million worth of bonus for literally not walking back on the field.
Well, was it something like he needed? It was something like, I think it was either 8 or 10 receptions.
He needed 59 yards. Was it 1 touchdown?
Yeah.
And 8 or 9 receptions. And each of those 3 things was worth $333,333.
It's kind of it's like he's saying that they taking him out of the game when he wanted to go in, and then other people, then they're saying, oh well, no, he said he was injured, so he took him out, and then it's like, it's a very kind of confusing situation. Like we said, he just hopefully can get the help.
Now, hear me out.
He needs.
Hear me out. Okay. 4th quarter of the Super Bowl, the Bucks are down by 2 touchdowns, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, who's this coming? Is that Antonio Brown
Doing the reverse. So he's
suited
got his trousers
up.
on, then he's doing his.
The helmet's going on, but he's in the line. Oh my God, he scored a touchdown. What is happening right now?
Well, if he times it perfectly, what he could do is he could just be stood in like the tunnel, and as Brady's about to take the snap, he just runs from that sort of end zone and just basically carries on with his route, and just basically sort of like just catches it in the end zone.
They're about to throw the flag for not enough players on the field when the snap's taken. But what is this? He's coming running down the side. Oh my God! It's Antonio Brown. It was a ploy all along. You know how Gronk's injured for 3/4 of the season, but then suddenly playoff ready and pulls in all those touchdowns. It's weird, that, isn't it? Because, everybody forgets that Gronk exists when he's not playing. So, yes, Antonio Brown, it would appear he is potentially done. Anything else from week 17?
I think just a quick kind of the pick up on the obviously the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase thing, and then obviously Jamar Chase breaking Justin Jefferson's record. Strangely enough, LSU won the college championship the year before Burrow and Jefferson came into the league. I don't know whether that, having the two best receivers of the past two rookie classes and probably one of the best QBs to come out of might have had something to do with the fact that LSU won the college championship. Maybe it's just ridiculous.
Well, I believe they won that college championship against Trevor Lawrence's Clemson.
Yeah.
So obviously, being in the national championship game doesn't always put you down as a hallmark for great career success. Sadly, Trevor. All the best for the next 10 years in Jacksonville, my friend.
Can you imagine every time you have to get out of bed just like... Well, but time to go and suck at a job that I have loved for many, many years.
Yeah, but bear in mind, he probably loses the first 2 hours of the day from sort of washing, conditioning, blow drying and straightening his long,
luscious locks.
So his hair care routine alone must sort of take the majority of his morning. So
it's probably the silky smoothness that comes from all those tears. He's just like
either that, or he just goes and dips it in the Everglades every morning. It just gives it that lovely sheen, or something like that.
Potentially. Anything else from week 17? Then I believe it's time to move on. And all that can mean is it's time to talk week 18. The final week of regular season football. So, I know for a fact I sent Mr. Williams my picks. Weirdly, I know for a fact that Matt also sent his picks, because I've seen them. So, any other guest predictions for this week? Or is it just the three of us?
I mean, that's probably least the lesser of the successful songs. Just the three of them. There are guest predictions for officially the second week in a row, but unofficially third week in a row. Podcast listener and potentially viewer Mark Wilkin has thrown his hat into the ring.
Absolutely fantastic.
Predictions perspective, but not to tread on the toes of the World Wrestling Entertainment boys, but for the first time ever, we have a husband and wife.
A predicting duo.
Oh no, not duo. Separate predictions to go against each other heads up. So obviously,
this is glorious.
Mark Wilkin has been on the podcast for a couple of weeks in a guest predictions role. His wife Katie has now thrown her hat into the ring and has also given us her predictions for week 18.
She's like, I'm tired of listening to you being wrong in the house. I now have to listen to you being wrong on this podcast. It's time to sort both out. Let's get these predictions up.
Exactly. So we start week 18 with, as we covered in the stats, the two Saturday games, which is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos and the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. Across the board, everyone's gone for the Chiefs. And then 4 out of the 5 have taken the Cowboys to take care of the Eagles. Katie must feel that the Cowboys are going to rest a couple of their starters as they're in the playoffs already, and obviously can't get the number 1 seed. So she has actually taken the Eagles to win that one. We then move on to the early slot of Sunday games with the Bengals at the Cleveland Browns. Again, myself, Andy, Matt and Mark have all taken the Bengals to get the win, whereas Katie thinks the Browns will get the win on this one. I'm presuming, again, the Bengals might rest a couple of starters. Although saying that, they are in contention to get the number 1 seed, I think, if things go their way. So, might see a bit of an upset there. Next up, we've got the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. Everyone's gone for the Packers. The Indianapolis Colts traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Same again. Me, Andy, Matt, Mark, all on the Colts. Katie's gone for the Jaguars to win this one. And I was speaking to a Colts fan earlier today, and he said that they haven't won in Jacksonville for about 6 years. So not a happy hunting ground for the Colts. So
is it that they haven't won there since 2014?
Could be. But bear in mind, there might have been 1 or 2 of those games that they might have played against the Jags in London as well, potentially. So that might factor into it as well. Next up, we've got the Washington football team taking on the New York Giants. We're all on the Washington football team for that one. Next up, we've got the Bears taking on the Vikings. The Gents are all on the Vikings, whereas Katie's taken the Bears to get the win in that one. In what's probably going to be Matt Nagy's last game as the head coach of the Bears. Potentially Mike Zimmer's last game as the coach of the Vikings as well, to be fair. Next up, we've got the Titans taking on the Texans. Obviously, if the Titans win, they'll sort the number 1 seed in the AFC. Again, all the lads have taken the Titans, whereas Katie's taken the Texans to get a bit of an upset there. We've got the Steelers taking on the Ravens. Both myself and Katie have taken the Steelers to win this one, whereas Andy, Matt and Mark have gone for the Ravens. 49ers at Rams. It's a clean sweep across the board. We've all taken the Rams to win and potentially knock out the Niners from the postseason. We'll have to wait and see. We've got the Panthers taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, the Gents are all in on the Bucs, whereas Katie has picked the Panthers. I believe the tagline that went with it was something along the lines of, she can't stand Tom Brady, so an understandable pick. We've got the Seahawks taking on the Cardinals. Gents are all in on the Cardinals. Katie's taking the Seahawks. Again, could potentially be Russell Wilson or Pete Carroll's last game for the Seahawks. We'll have to see what happens there. We've got the Patriots at Miami to take on the Dolphins. Myself, Andy, Matt and Katie have gone for the Patriots on this one. Mark has gone for the Dolphins to win. We've got the Saints at the Falcons. Myself, Andy and Matt have gone for the Saints. Mark and Katie have both gone for the Falcons on that one. 2 games left. We've got the Jets at the Bills. We've all taken the Bills, no great shock there. And then we've got basically game of the weekend, really. It's the win and in game in the AFC West. It is the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, on the predictions, we've all taken the Chargers, but Andy and Matt have actually managed to pick the exact same predictions for each of the games for all 16. So, we are going to have to take a very short interlude, but when we come back from that break, we're going to do a tiebreaker situation where, if required, it will determine whether Andy or Matt gets the point. So, have a think about it.
I've got something here about that Colts-Jags thing and about another game and how they relate. So we'll cover that as well. So
we'll cover that indeed. So in the break, have a quick think. I want to take a final score for that Chargers-Raiders game from you both. And obviously, whoever's closest in the term of overall points would get the tiebreaker in the event that you both tie.
Okay.
So we're going to go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll get that information from Mr. Moore and Mr. Cook.
Back in a mo.
Recording in progress.
There we go. Back. In like Flynn.
We're back, and I know what you're all thinking, and yes, we are all desperate to hear what we think Matt and Andy both think the final score in the Chargers-Raiders game is going to be. Now, I will just point out that obviously they both have picked the Chargers to win. However, that doesn't stop them from picking a point total that would involve the Raiders actually winning, technically, if they wanted to do that. If you see what I mean.
Hedge your bets.
Exactly. So...
It's like the hedging your bets. This is the prediction version of leaving your defence out of your fantasy team because you might lose again.
Very much so, very much so. So we'll go to Andy as it's alphabetical. It seems the fairest way. So Andy, what do you believe in the event of a tie? What do you think the final score in the Chargers-Raiders game might be?
I believe it will be 39 to the Raiders, 41 to the Chargers.
Wow.
Yeah. It's going to be an absolute doozy of a game.
That is some hefty scoring. So 41-39 in favour of the Chargers. Matt, are you also thinking it's going to be a bit of a barn burner?
Yeah. I've got mine. Honestly, I've gone 42-35 to the Chargers.
So Andy's total is 80. Matt's is 77. So there's only 3 points in it. So obviously, if it finishes 78 or 79. We've got a clear winner. So, excellent. Andrew, you had some stats about a couple of the games that you wanted to drop on us.
So, I saw this thing earlier. Right. The Colts play the Jaguars at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday. The Chargers play the Raiders later that night. The winner of that game goes to the playoffs and the loser gets eliminated. But if the Jaguars beat the Colts, the Chargers and Raiders could then both get into the playoffs with a tie. Meaning, Sunday night, both teams could simply agree to end their game in a tie and both would automatically make the playoffs. You might ask, how on earth would the Colts lose to the Jaguars in the first place? Keep in mind that the Colts haven't won a single game in Jacksonville since 2014. So obviously that's opened up a lot of questions around if they did decide to just take a tie at the end, whether that's ethically right or ethically wrong. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, that's kind of funny. So, what's the win and in situation?
So, as we'd covered in the stats, the Packers already have the number 1 seed in the NFC. So even if they get beaten by the Lions, they will not finish any lower than top seed. So they've got the bye all sewn up. On the AFC side, so the Bengals have clinched and they've got the AFC North. The Chiefs have the AFC West. The Titans have the AFC South. The Bills and Patriots are both in the playoffs, but the AFC East title is still to be decided. So, these are the clinching scenarios for all the other teams that are affected. So, Baltimore will clinch a playoff berth with a Baltimore win plus a Chargers loss, a Colts loss, and a Dolphins loss or tie. Buffalo will clinch the AFC East with a win, a Patriots loss, or both games ending in a tie. So, this is where it starts to get a bit confusing. The Bengals will be the number 1 seed if they win, Tennessee loses, Kansas City loses, and New England loses or ties, or they win, Tennessee loses, Kansas City loses, and Buffalo win. The Colts will clinch a playoff berth with a win for the Colts, or a Chargers loss and a tie in the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game, or a Chargers loss, a Pittsburgh loss, and a Dolphins win. Good God, I didn't realise this went on as long as it did. The Chiefs will take the number 1 seed if they win and the Tennessee Titans lose or tie, or if they tie with the Broncos and the Tennessee Titans lose. The Raiders will be in if they win, or they tie and the Colts lose, as Andy stated before, or if the Colts lose and the Pittsburgh Steelers lose or tie. The Chargers, nice and simple, win or tie and they are in. The Patriots will be the number 1 seed if they win, Buffalo loses or ties, Kansas City loses and Tennessee loses, or they'll just win the AFC East with a win and a Buffalo loss or tie, or a tie and Buffalo losing. Steelers, they need to win, they need the Colts to lose, and they need to hope the Chargers and Raiders game doesn't end in a tie. It's all getting a bit convoluted. Right, last one in the AFC. Titans, they will be the number 1 seed if they win. So, from a Titans perspective, win and they're the number 1 seed. They'll also get it if they tie and the Chiefs lose or tie. Or the Chiefs lose, the Bengals lose or tie, the Patriots lose or tie, or the Chiefs lose, the Bengals lose or tie, and the Bills win. Good Christ. Do I have to do this again for the NFC? I do now. I've made a rod for my own back, haven't I? Right, Packers, NFC, 1 seed, clinched. Cowboys, NFC East champions. Buccaneers, NFC South champions. Cardinals and Rams are both in, but the division is still to be decided. The Eagles are also in. The Cardinals will clinch the NFC West if they win and the Rams lose. The Rams will clinch the NFC title if they win or tie, or the Cardinals lose or tie. The Saints are in the playoffs if they win and the Niners lose, and then we just go to the Niners because this is the only other scenario. The Niners are in the playoffs if they win or tie, and the Saints lose or tie. Couldn't be simpler, eh?
Couldn't.
I forgot
be
everything you've just said.
any simpler.
So obviously the actual positionings are obviously still up for grabs and stuff like that, but obviously not for the Packers. But still, a lot of teams can finish in the 1 to 7 slot in the AFC.
This late in the season as well. bonkers. So, that's week 17 put to bed, week 18 predicted. Does anybody have anything else to discuss before we go?
I've got one quick one. We got it through on the wires. I think I've shared it with you guys already. Everyone's favourite, particularly Amy's favourite, Washington football team have announced, of course they've done it this way, they have announced that they are going to announce the official new name of the Washington football team on the 2nd of February. And the final candidates for the name of the Washington football team are the Armada, Presidents, Brigade, Red Hawks, Commanders, Red Wolves, Defenders, and the one we're all hoping and praying that they go with, the football team. Just stick with the football team. So we've got that to sit on the edge of our seat for a month and wait to see.
I can't wait to wait for the 2nd of February to discover that the Washington football team have agreed that moving forward they will be called, Hulls Down Banner, the Washington football team.
Yeah, so just that was it. I just thought it kind of, we could sit on the edge of our seats and wait for that. So is that Super Bowl week they're going to announce that?
No, I think the Super, because they've added the extra week to the season, I think the actual Super Bowl itself has actually been pushed back now.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's until the 8th? Let's have a look. Well, it'll either be the 6th or the 13th. So it's a wild card divisional NFC, AFC Championship. Should be the 13th of February.
13th.
And the 6th of February is Pro Bowl. The 2nd of February, for some reason, is a Wednesday.
Well, there you go. New name, new team, new. Right, gentlemen, thank you for joining me and taking these people through a sport from the other side of the pond. We will be back next week to talk the last week of the season and to prepare you and set you up for everything you need to know for the playoffs. Look out to see if your favourite team, or what will be your new favourite team for the playoffs and beyond, is in the playoffs. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and I'll see you both again very soon. Bye.
So there we go. What do you think to that? Season's nearly over. Playoffs are nearly upon us, and it'll soon be the Super Bowl. It's almost over, isn't it? What is over is this podcast, but you can support the podcast by going to wherever you get your podcast and like, share, comment and subscribe. It really does mean a lot to us. It means you're a member of the Cookie Cast crew. That's it for this one. Big thanks to our guest predictors and our guest. We will see you next time for more NFL football. Till then, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.